See, to build a successful product, in fact, as this Canadian ice hockey player said, right, to build a great product, this ice hockey player said, you don't run to where the puck is, you run to where the puck is going to be. That means a great product manager does not build a product that the customer wanted yesterday. He has to build a product what the customer wants tomorrow.
Welcome to the Startup Operator Podcast. I'm Roshan Cariappa. My guest today is Mr. Kumar Vembu, who is the founder and CEO of GoFrugal Technologies. Mr. Vembu was President and Chief Operating Officer at Zoho earlier, and then he quit to build products for India, specifically for the retail market. In the last 15 years, GoFrugal has helped over 30,000 small businesses adopt digital in an agile and seamless way. In this conversation, we spoke about the various nuances of building for Indian retail businesses, the opportunities and challenges in the market, and other aspects of building and scaling a SaaS business. This was a fascinating conversation with a veteran founder, and there's plenty of insights in here that you will find useful. So let's dive into this episode of the Startup Operator with Mr. Kumar Vembu. Hello, sir. Welcome to the Startup Operator Podcast. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Right. It's an absolute pleasure to host you. I thought a good place for us to start would be your transition from Zoho to GoFrugal, right? And to me, these look like two completely different businesses. One is focused at solving for the world, while the other is focused at solving for India specifically. And there is a certain backstory to it as well. I was listening to a few of your talks. I thought we could start there. Could you take us through the founding journey of GoFrugal?
Yeah, sure. I actually started my career with TNET Group in IIT Madras, where the first couple of projects I worked on were building products for the Indian market. Like we attempted to build some products that will make those technologies accessible to a larger section of the population and things like that, especially in telecom. So, when I worked in AdventNet, which later became Zoho. So our customers were all in the US and Europe and other countries, but we were growing, and India was also growing. Like I was managing the engineering team and the back end and things like that. So after a given size, when you manage, you become more a general manager rather than a product manager. So that is when, there were articles about Reliance launching Reliance Infocom, where there were in one particular article in Business Standard, where the Reliance spokesperson has explained that the way Reliance approaches a business is look at it as if they make a mobile phone per minute cost as 50 paisa, what will be the size of the market? If it is 1 rupee, what is the size of the market? If it is 4 rupees, what is the size of the market? So around 2004 time, the per minute charges were in rupees. So Reliance's calculation is at this price point, the market will be so big that, the scale will make the entire business viable. Right. So those kind of articles influenced me, and also, things like there are only 1 billion people in the developed world. Right. There are 5 to 6 billion people now in the developing world. And these developing world people definitely require the products and services at a very different price point, not at the same price point that that is available in the developed world. So, and similarly, I was watching some interview. I think in 2004, Bill Gates had visited India. It was probably his first visit to India, and there was a program on NDTV where Mr. Narayana Murthy and Bill Gates were talking. And Bill Gates was telling him when India has so many problems, challenges, and opportunities, he said he can't understand why Indian engineers want to come and solve the Seattle municipality's problem, right? So it was because already in my mind I was also thinking about why am I doing all the work that is only having users in the US and Europe and China? I thought why don't we do something for customers in India. That is the year in which this India Shining campaign was going on. And that also resonated well with me, right? As if India's growth rate increases and If people are starting to earn more, there will be a lot of IT requirement in India also, especially software. And India market cannot be serviced at the developed world price points. Maybe the top 1% or 2% market, they can afford the developed world prices, but 70-80% of the market cannot afford. So I thought I'll focus on building some products for the Indian market, where we serve customers the way the Indian business-to-business customers expect to be serviced. And that is when I also got an opportunity for about 5-6 months to travel extensively within India. So I visited multiple towns and spoke to a lot of people who are in selling IT product and servicing Indian customers and things like that. So I realized most of Indian enterprises are buying a brand. They were not willing to bet on a startup, or they were not willing to take risks. So I thought it is better than to build a product where people want a solution and they cannot afford a brand. So that will be a better place to start, instead of going to enterprises or companies with IT people making a decision, where getting an opportunity itself I felt was difficult. I will start with retail, where it is easy to go and talk to the owner, and we have a reasonable shot if we make them listen to us. So that's how I ended up narrowing down my search and picking this retail and restaurant and distribution kind of businesses as a target market, and starting to build the products on them.
Right. Wonderful. I'd love to delve on the market specifics, but before that, one slight detour, if you don't mind. You mentioned something interesting, which is, for a tech person, for a product person like yourself, you realize as the business scales, you go further and further away from the customer or the actual product, right? And, I wonder how you reconcile both of that, right? I mean, where you don't become a general manager who's managing a business with balance sheets, but you're still hands-on and you are actually, if not actively managing the product roadmap or actively managing customer experience, but definitely have a very significant influence on that. I wonder, how you're reconciling that and any learnings from that experience with Zoho and
actually,
with GoFrugal?
When you live in the market, see, today in GoFrugal, my customers are in this market, I am in this market. So every week I happen to engage with some customer or the other in different phase of the customer journey. Some customers who are just inquiries, or who are evaluating the solution, or some on some pricing or some escalation or whatever, right? So you are always sort of in touch with the customer when you live and do products for the market you live in, kind of a thing, right? Whereas when in 2004, since I started the operations in India, when we founded the company, right, it's like all the product managers, product owners are all reporting to me. So all customer interaction and other things will be taken by those people. So I was going further and further away from the product, because we are serving the US market. The product people are talking to the people in the market and talking to the customers and things like that. So there, in that kind of a setup, I became more operations driven, right? Whereas a more general manager kind of a type in the last year or so there, right? But whereas in GoFrugal, as we scale also, I am constantly in touch with the market, customers, and people like that. So I think, finally, unlike a service company, right? In a service company, scaling is different. In a product company, it is the product leadership, that is going to scale the business.
Right.
The innovations you do in the product, the first mover advantage you can get in the market by reading the market, right? And to perform that product leadership role, you need to, understand, appreciate the market very well. You also have to understand how the market is moving. So it is not only the ability to get a sense of where the market is right now, but also to understand where the market will be moving. So if I don't focus on one product, see, today it is easy, it is possible to do a product management sitting in India for a product that will be used in the US, because there is a lot of information available on what competition is doing, how the market is evolving, and things like that. If you follow the right people in Twitter or Instagram on their website and things like that, you can learn a lot. Right? Maybe in 2004, those resources were also less.
Yeah.
So in that context, I became more of a general manager. But today, it is possible even for somebody in management to be connected with the product if they have focus instead of doing 10 different products. If they do, if a company focuses on one product, people can today sit in India and serve the market because they can get that market.
Right. And I also believe, I think you can learn the maximum through osmosis, right? I mean, by actually being around your customers or end users more than, getting through secondhand information, either through sales or product, because then your thinking will also be incremental. And I don't think you come up with these serendipitous ideas that, that strike you when you're having a conversation with someone and when you're actually seeing the reality on the ground, right?
Yeah, actually, it is. It works both ways. Right? So being close to the customer is important, and being away from the customer is also equally important. Because it is not just the information you are exposed to that is important, right? Or what you see that is important. It is also the ability to comprehend, what the customer told you, what the customer is doing, and extrapolating that, and thinking about it in the context of how the market and the business culture is moving, right? And what are the pain points and challenges, and coming up with a solution. See, to build a successful product, in fact, as this Canadian ice hockey player said, right, to build a great product, this ice hockey player said, you don't run to where the puck is, you run to where the puck is going to be. That means a great product manager does not build a product that the customer wanted yesterday. He has to build a product what the customer wants tomorrow. So for doing that, people have to go closer to the customer, to listen to them, to see them. At the same time, they have to also isolate themselves and think about it and comprehend all that in the context of the market, in the context of general technology, the technologies that are becoming mainstream, and the habits that are changing and things like that. And how do you build a product when the product comes out, it actually, is very relevant that day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, definitely agree with everything that you've just said, which is, you have to kind of abstract yourself away from the customer as well to think holistically in terms of the market. And also, customers are great at giving you problems. They're not the best at giving you solutions for themselves, right? I think,
exactly.
There's that Henry Ford quote where he said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right?
Yeah.
So,
correct.
So let's speak about the market itself that you picked for GoFrugal. Now, the conventional advice right now is, hey, be global from day one onwards, right? I mean, you're going to spend the same amount of time and effort delivering a particular product or a solution. Why not earn in dollars versus earning in rupees, right? And, you look at return on effort. And if you're building a SaaS solution, I mean, it just is so much more lucrative and so much more viable to, be global and sell to the US, for instance, right? Or even Southeast Asia. So why did you choose, like from an opportunity perspective, how is India lucrative in comparison?
See, first of all, there is no one size fits all. Meaning, it is not correct that from day one you have to be global. So there are, it may be true for a horizontal product. That means a product where you are doing a technology product that is a horizontal platform, that is true. Whereas if you take a domain-specific product, right? If you take retail management, restaurant, or hospital management, or even a HRMS kind of product, they are very domain-specific products. And the way restaurants operate in US is very different from the way restaurants operate in India. The economics of the business itself is very different. The way retail operates in India is very different from the way retail operates in, Europe, for example, right? So the business models are different, the economics are different, even though some of the underlying problems could be same. So that is very important to understand. So for a business that is solving a domain problem, we have to look at how that problem is, globally uniform. So if you see today, Shopify and Square and Toast Paws may be very popular in the US, whereas they are not as popular in India. So the reason is not only price. The reason is also the functionality, right, that is expected of retailers in this country. So for a domain-specific problem like retail, I believe, companies cannot be global from day one.
Right.
And it is best to focus on a target market because there are lots of things that are, highly market specific. So those practices have to be built in, and the culture of servicing the market is very different, right? And for example, in the US, every software company or SaaS company that is making revenues from the retailers, more than 50% of their revenue comes from the transaction discount rate, by processing the credit card payments and things like that. In India, none of the software companies or SaaS companies servicing retail or restaurant can make a penny by doing the transaction discount rate, right? So, I was studying the data, like the Lightspeed and VendHQ. VendHQ was acquired by Lightspeed. And, their average revenue per store is about $3,000 a year. In India, the average revenue per store will be in the range of 6,000, 7,000 rupees for most of the vendors.
Right.
So where is $3,000 and where is 7,000 rupees, right? How can you build similar technologies and rich in functionality and service intensive market, but serve it at maybe 1/25th the price?
So in that case, do you feel that, India is a great starting point because it battle hardens you, it lets you build that core functionality that is absolutely relevant. And then when you take it abroad, when that go-to-market is a lot more seamless because you have worked with some of the more demanding customers and you've been frugal, so to speak. Right? Do you think that transition is a better transition in that sense?
Yeah, definitely. That was what I thought when I started in 2004. So people who are very, who can fail often and get up, right? They have the perseverance and determination. And most importantly, the staying power. Right? Meaning, so India is a very hard market. So staying power in the sense, that has to be there within you because you are supported by a investor or something like that. You have to make sure that patience is there. Right? Because it takes longer to build in India before you can take it to the world. But in my opinion, I still believe that if we are able to serve the Indian market very well, then every other place is a lot easier. Because whether you want multiple languages, you want multiple personalities of the customers, right, and the different segments of the customer. Any direction you talk about, any aspect of diversity you talk about, that is available in India. So to serve the Indian market itself, you have to be a very diverse company with diverse skills and capabilities. So once you serve that, it really becomes easy to scale outside India. In fact, at GoFrugal, we have customers in about 75 to 80 countries now. And every quarter we add 3-4 new countries where we add customers. And everything is just managed from India. We don't have, nobody even travels to any of these countries to acquire customers. Right? So from inbound inquiries and customer references and partners coming in, we are able to build operations in 80 different countries where more than 25% of our sales comes from international business now.
Right.
And we are planning to expand that. So it is definitely getting easier. But that staying power is very important.
So around the time you started, 2004 was a very, very different time, right? Compared to what it is right now, 2021, right? I think this was probably 1 or 2 years after the telecom policy was launched. I think single digit internet percentage penetration, right? And probably, I think if you were to poll people, I think it would have been the hardest thing to sell software, right? Or any kind of intangibles to Indian businesses, right? And it is even more complicated when it comes to small businesses, Indian small businesses, right? There was hardly any precedence, right? Of course, there was I think probably I remember Tally and then, Zoho right after that, right? So, but then, I mean, you've seen over the last, especially 4-5 years, right? I mean, the geo revolution has happened, and then, we have this whole payment stack, and the digital transformation that, small businesses are undergoing in India is tremendous. It's amazing. I mean, people are formalizing, digitizing like never before. So when you've had a ringside view of the last 15 years in terms of how these small businesses have adopted digital and how they've improved their business and gone ahead, right? So in your opinion, what are some do's and don'ts for digital transformation for small businesses itself?
See, the first thing is the small retailer cannot afford a digital transformation officer. So that means they don't have the bandwidth for change management. So that means it has to be business as usual, and they should be able to do that digital transformation without much effort. Meaning, we cannot sit with them and tell them, oh, what is your process? How should you re-engineer your process to digitally transform yourselves? Then for this re-engineered process, can we go and evaluate tools and evaluate a vendor? And then, we will do this transformation over a period of 2 years. All that doesn't work because they just have enough or less resources to manage their day-to-day business, and they cannot, take a break from their business. Right? So that means that even though this digital transformation is very transformational, it cannot be run as a strategic project. It has to be handled as a tactical update, right? So what we have done in GoFrugal is you deploy whatever SaaS service or solution that we are giving that will meet your current way, the way in which you are doing the business, right? So you come on to our platform, and then you transform each area of your business. Wherever you have a pain point, wherever you have a challenge, wherever you are having you lose peace of mind because of the complexity of operations there, or you are not able to manage things properly, let us pick that area and transform that area digitally. To give you an example, if we go to a supermarket customer, the supermarket customer generally uses a computer for billing and another computers for the back-end operations and things like that. So he just deploys that software, that solution in his business from GoFrugal. And then they say, the delivery, sometimes delivery boy takes too much time. The returns from customers are higher. That is a pain point, they say. We tell them, okay, we will give you a mobile app to the delivery boy, and we will give you a back-end portal for you to know what orders are getting assigned to which delivery boy, and which delivery boy is on the way to deliver, when did he start, when did he reach there, what does the Google map say about how much time he will take, whether he is taking too much time or he has come back on time, and whether customer has acknowledged that he got all the deliveries in time by OTP. So a lot of these things are part of that delivery management. So they can digitally transform that delivery part of their business, which had no tool used. The moment they do that, they get some confidence. Then the second thing is sometimes the wrong products are picked and billed. Customers shares the order through a phone call or WhatsApp. The wrong products are delivered to the customer. There were higher number of returns, and the wrong packaging is given. Instead of 50 ml, you give a 100 ml product or something like that. So the returns are more, right? So that is increasing the headache of the customer. Then we tell the customer, okay, we have a mobile app for stock pick. You deploy that app. The moment customer order comes in, it is automatically assigned to one of the pickers who can pick the order by scanning the barcode in the store. And he can then, once he picked everything, he can say bill, and the bill will automatically get printed. So this way, because he is scanning, only when he scans the right product, it will accept. If he scans the wrong product, it will give a sound alert, right? So the picking efficiency can be improved. So they deploy this. This is a portion of business where they were not using any tool. Then we tell them, why don't you, if customer is ordering through phone call or WhatsApp or something like that, why don't you give your consumer a mobile app? So they give a mobile app to their consumer. That is again another area of business where they have not given they have not had a digital engagement with the customer. So like this, we deploy, give them options to deploy technologies where they were not using technology before, which works with whatever software or SaaS service they are using to manage the store. So these are areas which were not even, automated, or you automate straight away into digital. And then we tell them there are inefficiencies in certain areas when they do, goods receipt. They now manually count it, and they manually tick in the delivery challan or the invoice that comes from the supplier. And some other guy compares it with PO in the computer. Some other guy processes the payment for the supplier. Now there are 3 two-way reconciliation happening. So we tell them you adopt a mobile app. So without having any document from the supplier, the guy will just scan what is inward, what he has received. Now the system will compare whether what is received matches with the PO or not. And the system will compare when the invoice is entered whether it matches with PO and the goods received and things like that. So we changed it into one 3-way reconciliation. So long story short, we have split the entire operations into 20-25 different business processes. Some are blue ocean opportunities where no automation or no digital thing has been done, in the computer software world. We give them mobility and digital transformation solutions there. In some areas, we give, improved process with the digital. And then, like that, we take it at one piece at a time, where we solve a pain point so that they get more interest to know how can I save more headache? How can I, reduce more operating cost? How can I, serve my customer better? So their interest comes alive. So that's how we go about digital transformation. So when we do this, we find the customers to be more engaged in the process. Whereas if we say there is a big bang, I only have digital solution, to do this, you have to spend 6 months with me. Then the SME businessman is not interested because he doesn't have time.
Right.
So whatever we have to do for him, we have to do it with very little time commitment from them and even lesser attention from them. Because even if they give us 1 hour, one thing I learned is, for them, a call from their customer or a call from their supplier is more important than dealing with the IT.
Yes.
Right? So you will not get time and you will not get attention. How do we make the implementation happen in that scenario? That's what we try to do.
Right. So I think to begin with, complement their behaviors and processes, help them do it cheaper, faster, better, right? And then suggest ways to innovate, suggest ways to improve their existing processes, right? So the other aspect of this whole digital transformation beyond automating workflows and streamlining processes is, the important aspect of customer experience, right? And helping these people go beyond transactional to really, experiential things, right? And you see that with Kirana stores or, the neighborhood petty gades that you have, where the person will know the people who are coming and buying from them, right? But scaling that is difficult, of course, right? But through technology, you can sort of bridge that, right? You can scale that personalized experience as well. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that, about, digital transformation for enabling better customer experience.
Yeah, definitely. See, what we tell all the SME businesses is that they have to identify all the frictions in the customer journey and remove them. So one of my favorite thing to tell them is, because see, most of these proprietors feel good when the people working under them come to them for decisions or instructions. So right. They feel more relevant and they feel more important only when people come to them. And right. Without they asking them, some service cannot be done. So I tell them digital is all about, even if you are not there, the person should be empowered to do his job. So I give them an example of, so many millions of people book Uber cab every day. And the drivers come and pick them up and take them and drop in their destination and pay everything. But no Uber commuter has ever said, I have spoken to the owner of Uber or the founder of Uber or CEO of Uber. You just don't have to do that. So same way, Amazon also sells you all the things and more of what you are selling. Nobody has ever felt the need to call somebody in Amazon, whether he is in the responsibility of delivering the customer order or the customer. So how can you make things so systematic and so policy and the process driven and the rules driven, so that without your presence, people are empowered to deal with the customer. Every single situation, your person knows exactly what to do, and our mobile app will guide him to that. So that is the kind of thing that will make the customer experience seamless. Because more and more, the moment somebody tells the customer, I will talk to the owner and come back to you, or I'll ask the owner, customers have started feeling that as a friction in their experience, because they have to wait, and nobody likes waiting now. So that is one important thing we tell customers. And in terms of making that happen, we look at it in three pieces. So one is the customer is at his home or outside the store. So when he is outside the store, how can he be connected with the store he frequently buys from or where he is loyal to, right? So can he connect to the store and order? Right? So we have done an app called Order Easy, where customers can actually order and make payments and things like that, and track the delivery status, everything. And the second part of it is what happens when a customer visits the store. Can you give a kiosk to the customer where he can even place order from the kiosk, or he can look up about product details in the kiosk and other things. And then can you, if some product is not there in the store, every retailer, so your competition is with everything store. That is Amazon, right? So you get everything there. So now if you say I have 2000 square feet and I only deal with these 1000 SKUs, only some of the brands in the categories I deal with, then customers are not going to come for a long time. So if you choose to be dealing with certain categories, at least in those categories, you have to have everything. So some you will have physical stock, some you won't have physically. Right? Those products, people can place an order and you can deliver to them. So there is a concept called endless aisle. So how can you have an endless aisle implemented in your store? So if a product is not physically there, consumer can order. Depending on what product they order, you can give them 3 hour or 4 hour or 8 hour delivery time to the consumer. Right? They can order and pay and go, and you deliver it shortly. So that is about the in-store experience. So how do we look at the in-store experience? Right? And the third important point is about engagement. So whether you are outside the store or inside the store, how do I engage with the customer to basically build on that experience they got in the store or in the app, right? So in all these three aspects, we basically help the retailers, and we also create awareness in this, so that the customer journey can be completely seamless and frictionless. And the most important thing here is we tell our customers that only if you digitally transform your operations, where your people get information at their fingertips. So you cannot do all this only for the customers and they expect to achieve all the results you want. Right. So your people should be empowered. So are you using digital to empower your people, so that if customers is asking a question, the guy does not look for somebody else to go and ask. Will the guy have information in his smartphone so that he can look at it and answer the customer? Or maybe along with the customer, he can also watch the video. If he cannot explain that, at least show a video to the customer. Right? So whoever is a sales associate or store associate inside the store, how are they empowered to deal with the business? So we want to give both these tools, the retail store associate empowerment and the customer empowerment, so that the whole digital transformation is complete.
So everything that you are describing right now goes far beyond just simply operational convenience and efficiency, right? It touches upon various aspects of the business model itself. It touches upon the people's culture and so on, right? When you see people adopt GoFrugal and when you see them on that technology curve, right, do they look back after 3 or 4 years and tell you that I'm running a completely different business thanks to what technology has enabled me to do?
See, actually, I must tell you some things we have done and some incidents here. So when GST came into force on July 1st, 2017, GST, I think about May 12th or something is when GST was passed. And there were doubts in the market whether GST will really be implemented on July 1st or not, right? And we were working to meet the GST deadline. And around June sometime, I realized that, maybe around May 27th or something, I realized that we can't service all the customers personally in this GST transition. Because we were, till that time, we were doing 24/7 call center with phone support to all our customers. And, 95% of the customers used to take voice support through phone call. Less than 5% customers used to send email and things like that. So 95% of our support was on phone calls. And I know if GST is there, since the GST is going to be an incremental thing, right? There were many open items. We were interpreting it in our own way. We were not able to get clarification on certain points, but we have to build something and give it to customers. So we were making our own interpretation and building things. And around June 12th or something, I announced that we are withdrawing telephone support completely. Right? We will go all digital, and customers have to, we will send them SMSs, and no customer will get personalized service. Whether they are big or small. Because we don't have resources. We only have enough resources to build the product, test it and release it, and do help material and videos and things like that. We can't service customers one-on-one. So about 3 weeks before GST, we went completely digital in our support. Till today, we are completely digital in our support. And we also built a chatbot, and we made about 1,000 videos, and it made them in 3 different languages. Made product a lot of self-help, right, and things like that, so that customers can serve themselves. And we put all our resources in improving this. So from about May to September, October, most of our people many days stayed in the office because there is so much work to do. Every week or every 2 weeks, there were amendments to GST law. We have to do them and give it in 2-3 days, and everything was self-help. And this created a huge, I can say, in some people's mind, even within GoFrugal, it created a negative impression. Because there were some customers whom they know, they were saying, we withdrew this phone support, and it has put them in huge inconvenience, right? And they were, some of the customers were not happy, and we probably lost about 5% of the customers, because some of our competitors told these customers, we have probably decided to close down the company by adopting this digital support in a voice country. India is known as a voice country and a do-it-for-me market. It's not a do-it-yourself market. In that market, we are saying you have to do it yourself, and our service will be only digital. Right? So last 4 years and about a couple of months, we are in that only digital support. Where for phone support, customers have to pay 1,000 rupees per hour and buy support pack for phone support. And less than 2% of our customers have bought support pack. So in this context, I said, okay, I will go, and since many customers are 10 years, 5 years, 8 years, if customers have so much disappointment, it is my duty to meet them. So I organized the meetings in Chennai and Madurai, where we invited about 700, 800 customers to an evening with us, where I was explaining some things and I was answering their questions and things like that. And both in Chennai and Madurai, when I apologized for putting them through inconvenience during GST, there were hundreds of customers who came and told me they came there to appreciate us, not to hear an apology, because they said we did absolutely the right, meaning with most of our competitors, after 2 days, their phone line was not reachable, because and their people all had throat problems, they can't talk, right? And they had nothing. And we anticipated all this, and we built the tools. We prepared these videos, and we prepared them for about 3-4 weeks. And we had given for every problem immediate solution. So whoever wants it can take it, right? And in Chennai, some of the customers came and honored, unannounced. They said they came there to honor, because they never, initially they were shocked, but they understood how this was the best plan, right? In fact, they said always they have believed that GoFrugal and you work in our best interest. and it just got validated during GST. That was something that came consistently from customers who spoke in the meeting. In fact, we never had any plans of inviting any customer to speak because we weren't sure what customer will speak. But 70% of 60% of the meeting was sort of hijacked by the customer, and they came and spoke, and they converted it into a different meeting than what I had expected, and went there.
Wow,
So definitely, even when I meet customers individually, a lot of customers have told me they learn a lot of business by reading our release notes and going through our product and things like that. And our software is one of the best things that has happened to their business.
Wonderful. That must have been a great experience. Over the last 15 years, you've sold to retailers across the length and breadth of the country. I wonder if you can talk us through some of the nuances of building and selling for Indian retailers specifically, right? And also the pandemic, probably, retail was the worst affected industry in the pandemic, right? And, from your conversations, how do they seem to be coping with this? And, what are some trends that will continue to stay, going forward as well? So if you could talk us through the nuances in the retail market, and also, how the pandemic has changed this segment forever.
See, the one thing is, I would say the India I have sold in the last 15 years, India itself has changed 3-4 times. So I won't say that 2004 India and 2021 India are very different. There are some defining moments. So the introduction of VAT itself was one defining moment that happened soon after we started the company. Then the VAT e-filing is another defining moment. Then demonetization is another defining moment. Then GST is another defining moment. Then this payment revolution is another defining moment. Right? Then the pandemic is another defining moment.
Right.
So I would say these are all major, milestones. Each one of these milestones, the B2B businessman's appreciation of technology, the importance they give to technology, and the way their mindset towards technology, in each one of them, they have changed for the better for vendors like us. So in VAT forced them to have some amount of integrated ERP rather than having one software for front end and another for back end. The VAT e-filing increased that. With GST, it became absolutely mandatory. With the pandemic, the digital adoption has become mandatory. So earlier, it is only like, I am too small, I don't need this kind of responses will be there. The pandemic made sure, everybody needs to have delivery. Everybody needs to have online order taking. Those have become mandatory things, right? And even payment. In 2004, it is a predominantly cash-based system. And today, every retailer accepts digital payments, right? And that increases the complexity because in 2005-06, you can say cash and credit card were the two payment instruments. It is very easy for them to reconcile at the end of the day. What is the sale amount and how much is paid through which instrument? And the 90% will be in cash for 99% of the business.
Right.
But today, they have to track multiple things, right? So the front-end complexity has increased in all this, right? So technology has become mandatory to manage that front-end complexity. So that means, when we go to the retailer, earlier, in 2004, we have to start the sales process by giving him the cost savings due to computerization. What is your investment on computer, UPS and software? In how many months you will take that investment back? And that kind of a story. Whereas in 2021, our last 6 years, we have never spoken about it to anybody. Everybody understands technology is mandatory. In fact, and the second thing is, we were selling to people who are not looking for features in 2005. In 2021, most retailers are clear about what they want. So they have already experienced some pain points in the other software. So they at least know what they should be cautious about. So everybody who is evaluating today has a list of things, so you have to answer for the previous vendor's problems also, right? So that kind of awareness is there. So which is making it like, the market has sort of matured. from a a functionality market to a quality user experience market. So today, vendors that will grow are the vendors who can offer a quality product which covers all the needs of the retailer and also a product that offers the best user experience. So that kind of evolution has happened in the market. And your other question is about the second part of the question. Can you come again?
Basically, what changes post pandemic? And also my first question was the nuances of building for retailers, basically.
See, now, in fact, when the Walmart CEO visited India around 2005 or 6, he said in India, retail is different every 100 kilometers. So within that 100 kilometer also, retail is different between the verticals, pharmacy, supermarket, garment, like that. And the retail is also different between the communities. So there are, because how does two garment stores or two supermarkets or two pharmacies exist next to each other? Each one has a different USP, right? So there are some business practices that are different from between them. There are some value that they offer to their customers that are different between them. So that means that, we have to, they only know about their business. So retailer here has very little time. And that means that they spend all their time in their business. So they are a master of their business. And they probably don't know that much about the industry practice or what is better than them and things like that. So for us, the biggest thing is to listen to, we have probably met and listened to about 1 million customers in our 15-year journey now.
Wow.
So listen to so many people, and how do we generalize things? How do we build things in a way that it is, it is not custom built for that particular retailer, but it is generally useful for a lot of other people. And how do we build it in a way that it can be used, for people with two different set of values? For example, there are discount retailers, and there are also retailers who say that giving discount is fooling the customer. And we can't argue with either of them. Right? So if a retailer wants to give discount, we tell them what are all the sophisticated ways in which he can manage the discount. If a retailer says giving discount is a sin, we show him how his product won't even have discount word in the product anywhere. Right? So those are all very important. For example, there are customers who believe your savings have to be shown in the bill. I have some other customers who say that your savings is a fraud on the customer. Because nobody saved anything. That is my price. Right? So both views are, diametrically opposite to each other, and we serve both types of customers the way they want their product to be and they want their service to be. And how do we achieve that in a cost-effective manner where the customer is buying only a standardized product with a standardized service? So that is the unique thing we have done across the country.
And that, I suppose, is a process of experimentation and iteration to figure out, while you're building with the customer, it's not so unique that it's not got a viability outside of that, right? I mean, it's applicable for a wider base of people in the market itself, right?
Yes. The way we build it is applicable for a wider base. And, how do we serve all these people with, different processes, different policies, different beliefs with one standard product and one standard service.
Right. Amazing. So I want to spend the last section of this podcast talking about your fundamentals on business itself. Typically, there are maybe two broad ways of building a business. You could go the bootstrap route, or you could be the VC funded business, right? And both of these have implications. Neither one is right or wrong. I mean, it depends on the type of business. It depends on the type of entrepreneur or the market itself, right? But I wonder if you can talk through some of the implications, because you bootstrapped your business, right? Zoho is famously bootstrapped to $1 billion plus in valuation, whereas now you're an investor in some of these businesses as well, right? And again, you're seeing the crazy, M&A activity that's happening right in India itself, and the fundraisers and everything. So for an entrepreneur, what is something that they should be aware of, in terms of which path to take, and how it sort of defines the way they run their business?
Actually, there are, in my view, I always tell people, every week or every month, they have to write down what are the three things that are slowing them down? See, many times too much funding at the wrong time can also distract the entrepreneur and kill the business. So the funding itself works both ways, meaning so it is also about timing. So that means that we have to really look at what are the top three things that is slowing us down as a business. See, sometimes a product market fit is not there. How much ever funding is there, how much ever marketing you do, the business is not going to be great. We are going to just burn some money. So, for example, in 2005, if I had invested, or 2007, if I had invested very heavily in marketing during the VAT market, we would not have, our product is not, I can say universally applicable to all retailers in India. It was addressing a very narrow segment of the market in India. So by doing a huge marketing spend, I would have attracted a lot of interest in the company. But when I engage with them, they will find the product unsuitable, and I would have just wasted the money and earned some bad name. Right? There are enough examples of this in India. Since you mentioned about Tally, post-VAT, Tally launched what is called a Tally as an ERP, and they collected advance from a huge number of customers. And after a couple of years, they returned the money. Right? Because the product has to be ready before you go to the market and make a big splash. So we have to assess, okay, is the market ready? Is the product ready for that market? Is money the only thing that is stopping me from scaling? So if money is the top thing in stopping me from scaling, that is the time to raise funds. But if I have not even figured out what the product is or understood the market, what is the product market fit, at that stage, if I raise too much money, it will definitely go down the drain. So I always tell people who ask me this question, write down every month what is the number one thing that is preventing you from growing faster. And if you are really, really convinced it is money that is stopping you from growing, then you raise capital. If it is not money, work on other things that's not money. Because it gives you need peace of mind to work on the other things. You can't have a deadline to deliver certain kind of growth when your product itself is not.
Yeah. And also money serves as a distraction sometimes, I feel. I mean, it lets you fund a lot of these experiments, which I think if you were a little more conservative, you would not. I mean, you would not do those things. You would rather focus on the core and try to make it work, right? So
exactly.
We are seeing so much activity on the B2B SaaS in India, right? The ecosystem is thriving right now. And I feel it's a convergence of plenty of things, whether it's the cloud adoption, whether it's the payment infrastructure we have, or, the ecosystem itself maturing enough to have these playbooks and frameworks and everything that weren't there about like 10 or 15 years back, right? When you started. What are some things that you are optimistic about going forward in the future from a B2B SaaS perspective?
No, definitely, both for the India market and the global market, SaaS is the way to go. So more and more businesses are definitely adopting SaaS, and that means the entire whatever software applications that are being used, everything has to be sort of re-architected and rewritten for the SaaS model. And there are also many, many use cases. For example, I gave this example of a supermarket. With digital transformation and mobility and other things, what has happened is about 70% of the operations that were 100% manual operations or always manual with bare assistance from computers, they can all be completely automated. So in fact, with the computer vision, AI, ML and things like that, I see, everything we use, every software we use is going to be redone, and they are going to look different in the next 3 years. And in fact, my definition of digital transformation is in the computer era, we have to start the interaction with the computer. In the digital era, right, the machines will tell us what we should do. So every work in the B2B environment will start with the instruction from a machine, do this. If you think about it, that's what a Uber driver is doing. That's what the Swiggy delivery boy is doing. And many other, professions are going to be disrupted that way, where the software, SaaS service is going to tell the user what they have to do. So in a B2B environment, if you think about how much Uberized or Swiggyized these professionals are, accountants or the purchasing guy or whoever it is, you will see that, we have barely scratched the surface in digital transformation now. Right. And all this improvement and the solution availability, in my opinion, will happen in the next 3 to 5 years. And that is a tremendous opportunity for India, because we have the engineers, we have the product managers, we have the marketing guys. If people can just stay focused on one problem for 5 years instead of going after one problem every year, right? Both from the founders and from all the team members, right? Then we will actually leverage this opportunity and build a huge ecosystem here. So the only thing that can distract us from this is too many opportunities and people keep jumping from one to another. So that's the only danger I see.
All right. That's a great note to end the podcast. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. This was a very enjoyable conversation. A lot of fascinating insights. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much for hosting me. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this episode, then don't forget to subscribe to us on your favorite platform and share this episode with all of your fellow startup operators. Also, follow the Startup Operator on LinkedIn and Twitter for more updates. Stay safe, take care, and see you soon on a brand new episode of the Startup Operator.